To help my boyfriend of 7 years start his business, I drained my savings and took on $45,000 in high-interest personal loans. He promised that on the first day his company went public, he would give me a grand wedding. But on the night before his company's IPO launch, I accidentally saw a screenshot he'd sent in the guys group on his WhatsApp desktop app, which he hadn't logged out of. It was the loan collection text message I had just sent him. In the chat, his best friend joked, "Marcus, Celeste is bugging you for money again? You're really living off her dime, aren't you?" My boyfriend replied with a smiley face, "Can't help it, she loves me. Don't worry, I won't shortchange her a single penny of that money." I had just breathed a sigh of relief when, the next second, he tagged everyone, "Send me screenshots of high-definition transfer records. Whoever gives the biggest cash gift for the wedding tomorrow will be my best man. Oh, and remember to write in the memo, 'Congratulations to Marcus and his bride, Celeste.'" Celeste, his frail foster sister he claimed to support for years. And on the wedding invitation he sent in the group chat, he was the groom, and the bride's name was also Celeste. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. Awesome, Marcus! Happy wedding! Congrats, Marcus, and to Celeste. We must chip in a big amount for Marcus tomorrow. Dozens of messages instantly flooded the WhatsApp group, followed by various praises and digital red envelopes. My blood felt as if it had been drained in an instant, my limbs cold as if just pulled from a freezer. The light from the computer screen cast a stark, pale glow on my face. I stared fixedly at the glaring red digital invitation. Next to the groom, Marcus, were the 3 characters, Celeste. Wedding time, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Location, the city's most luxurious Fairmont. And I, Grace, the fool who, for high S dream, had navigated various high-interest loan platforms and racked up $45,000 in debt, hadn't even known this wedding existed. 7 years. I had been with him since he was a penniless college graduate, supporting him until today, when he was on the verge of taking his company public. I scrimped and saved, splitting my salary in half, one portion for loan repayments, the other for his living expenses. He said, "Gracie, once the company goes public, I'll marry you in style and make you the happiest bride in the world." I believed him. But now, he was giving that happiness away to another woman with his own hands. My fingers stiffly scrolled the mouse, going up through the chat history. My heart felt as if an invisible hand had clamped down on it, each breath bringing a tearing pain. Celeste had always been frail since childhood. My heart went out to her, so her name was on the deed for the marital home, and I bought her the biggest, most dazzling diamond ring. The accompanying image was a photo of the property deed and a massive, pigeon egg-sized diamond ring. The housing prices in that neighborhood were something I wouldn't even dare to dream of. Someone in the group asked, "What about Grace? How are you planning to handle her?" On the screen, a nonchalant voice message popped up next to Marcus's name. I trembled as I tapped it open. His voice, both familiar and alien, pierced my ears like a poisoned steel needle. "Gracie? She's just a convenient ATM, that's all. Now that her money's been drained, she's useless. Lately, she's been hounding me for money, like a persistent leech. It's so annoying. Once the wedding's over tomorrow, I'll kick her to the curb. Don't worry, women like her, a few sweet words and they'll come crawling back. Then she can continue to slave away for me." Buzz, the phone in my pocket vibrated wildly, the screen flashing with a collection call from Liberty. I numbly answered, and a harsh male voice came from the other end. "Grace, right? When are you going to pay back what you owe? If you don't, we'll Photoshop your unpaid debt photos into humiliating images and send them to everyone in your contact list. We know your boyfriend's company is going public today. If he dares not to pay, we'll hang banners outside his company building." The threatening words surged like a tide, but I couldn't hear a single one clearly. All I could hear in my ears were Marcus's words, a convenient ATM and a persistent leech. I hung up, and my vision blurred. My stomach churned. I rushed into the bathroom, leaning over the cold toilet, but nothing came up, only waves of bitter bile. I looked at my pale, red-eyed reflection in the mirror and suddenly laughed. The laughter grew, filled with endless desolation and despair. 7 years of youth, $45,000 in debt, all exchanged for a complete and utter scam. I neither cried nor made a scene. Tears, at a time like this, were the cheapest thing. I returned to the computer and calmly took screenshots and recorded all of Marcus's chat logs, pictures, and voice messages from the group. I saved them one by one, encrypted them, and uploaded them to the cloud. After doing all this, I pulled out a slightly faded business card from the deepest part of my wallet. On the card were just a name and a phone number. Julian. I dialed the number I hadn't contacted once in 3 years. The phone rang twice before being answered. A low, cold male voice came from the other end. Hello? My voice was severely hoarse from the prolonged suppression. Mr. Julian, it's me, Grace. I need money, a lot of money. Also, I paused, stating each word with crystal clarity, I need a fake husband. We'll get married tomorrow. A full 10 seconds of silence followed on the other end of the line. Just as I thought he would hang up or call me crazy, Julian's voice sounded again, still with that emotionless coldness. Address. Half an hour later, the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and a blast of cold air, infused with the scent of cedar, rushed in. Julian stood outside, dressed in a perfectly tailored handmade suit. His posture was imposing, and his aura was so powerful that my rental apartment, less than 30 square meters, felt cramped in his presence. His gaze lingered on my swollen eyes and pale face for a second, then shifted away, as if another glance would be a waste of time. Come in, I said, stepping aside to let him enter. He didn't move. Instead, he took a document from his assistant behind him and handed it directly to me. Take a look. I took the document. On the cover were 3 gilded characters, prenuptial agreement. I opened the first page. I will clear all your debts. I will give you the identity of Mrs. Grace for 1 year. After 1 year, we will divorce amicably, and you will receive $50 million in cash and a spacious downtown apartment as compensation. My breath hitched, I couldn't believe my eyes. My condition is, Julian's voice broke my astonishment, that you play a part with me tomorrow and, for the next year, fulfill the role of Mrs. Grace to help me secure my family's inheritance. I looked up at him. His eyes were as deep as the ocean, revealing no emotion. 3 years ago, I saved an old woman who had been hit by a car on the street and insisted on taking her to the hospital. Later, I learned she was Grandma, the matriarch of the influential Eleanor family, one of the city's most prominent. Julian was the Eleanor family's sole heir, the undisputed scion of the city's elite. Afterward, he gave me this business card, saying the Eleanor family owed me a favor, and I could reach out to him anytime, for anything. I never thought I would use this so-called favor. Until today, when I was pushed to the brink. Why me? I asked him, my voice dry. Because you're desperate enough, he looked at me, his tone calm to the point of cruelty. A woman who's been stripped of all her money and burdened with massive debt will do anything for money. I need an obedient partner, one with no strings attached. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. He was right. Now, there was truly nothing I wouldn't do. I'll sign. I pulled the thumbprint pad from a drawer and, without hesitation, pressed my thumb firmly at the end of the agreement. The vivid red thumbprint was like a drop of blood, and also like my determination to bury the past. Julian nodded with satisfaction. His assistant immediately stepped forward with a card reader. Miss, your total debt is $45,422, correct? I nodded numbly. The assistant performed a few operations, and a payment receipt was handed to me. Seeing payment successful displayed on it, the nerves that had been taut for months finally relaxed slightly. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., a driver will pick you up. Julian uttered these words, then turned and left without any hesitation. The moment the door closed, I completely collapsed onto the floor. I spent a sleepless night. The next morning at 9, a black Rolls-Royce pulled up punctually downstairs. I changed into the designer gown Julian's assistant had sent, applied delicate makeup, and got into the car. The person in the mirror was radiantly beautiful, yet so unfamiliar that I barely recognized myself. Inside the car, Julian was already there. He handed me a tablet. Take a look. Your ex-boyfriend is still gloating. On the screen was a live broadcast of Marcus's wedding. He was holding a glass, chatting animatedly with his so-called buddies, an irrepressible smugness on his face. Grace? She wouldn't dare to show up. That foolish woman, she was fooled by me for 7 years and never knew. I wrote the wedding address on the very last line of the invitation. She's too stupid to even read the address on an invitation. Once today is over, I'll kick her out with nothing, and then she'll come back pleading me. I expressionlessly turned off the tablet and looked out the window. Marcus, you probably can't imagine. I won't just come, I'll also give you a wedding gift you'll never forget. In the ballroom of the plaza, guests mingled elegantly, their glasses clinking. Marcus and Celeste stood on stage, preparing to exchange rings. The MC, in a sentimental tone, loudly announced, "Now, the groom may kiss his bride." Marcus, beaming, cupped Celeste's face. Just as their lips were about to meet, bang! The heavy double doors of the ballroom were violently pushed open from the outside. The loud noise drew everyone's attention. Arm in arm with Julian, I walked slowly, step by step, into the room, my 10-centimeter heels echoing in the deathly silence. I was wearing an expensive Chanel designer gown. Under the spotlight, the smile on my face was polite yet distant. Marcus's smile froze on his face, his pupils contracting sharply as if he had seen a ghost. He instinctively let go of Celeste, took a step back, his eyes filled with panic. The guests below the stage began to whisper. Isn't that Grace? How did she get here? Who's that man with her? Such a powerful presence. Looks like we're in for a show. Ignoring everyone's stares, I walked directly to the front of the stage and took the microphone from the stunned MC. Marcus, Miss, happy wedding. My voice, amplified by the speakers, filled the entire hall, clear and cold. Marcus's face instantly turned ashen. He forced a smile uglier than a grimace. Gracie, why are you here? Can't we discuss this privately? Please. Don't make a scene here. Make a scene? I scoffed as if I'd heard the funniest joke. Marcus, I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here to deliver a wedding gift. As I spoke, I subtly glanced at Julian's assistant behind me. The assistant understood, plugging a USB drive into the computer backstage. The next second, the giant LED screen at the wedding venue, which had been displaying the couple's sweet wedding photos, changed. Screenshot after screenshot of chat logs appeared starkly before everyone's eyes. Gracie? She's just a convenient ATM, that's all. A persistent leech, so annoying. Whoever gives the biggest cash gift for the wedding tomorrow will be my best man. Memo for payee, congratulations to Marcus and his bride, Celeste. Each sentence was like a resounding slap across Marcus's face. The entire hall erupted in uproar. Is this real? Marcus is such a monster. He uses her money, then marries someone else? He's such a scumbag. The scumbag of the century, even. Marcus's face had gone from ashen to a deep crimson. He pointed at me, yelling furiously, Grace. You're crazy. These are all photoshopped. You're slandering me. I scoffed, and the screen's display changed again. This time, it showed my loan records from various high-interest loan platforms, along with the $45,000 collection notice. All the transfer records, every payee, without exception, was Marcus. I raised the microphone, looking him directly in the eyes. My voice was not loud, but clear enough for everyone to hear. Marcus, this $45,000 in high-interest personal loans, are you going to pay it back, or will Miss here, who used my money to buy the marital home and a diamond ring, pay it for you? The moment I finished speaking, Celeste's face instantly went white. She leaned weakly against Marcus, tears streaming down her face like broken pearls, and pleaded piteously, Sister, I know you've never liked me. But you can't just fake these pieces of evidence to ruin Marcus and my wedding just because you can't have him. Marcus truly loves me, we genuinely love each other. Her words instantly swayed the opinions of some guests. Marcus also seemed to grasp at a lifeline, reacting instantly. He pointed at Julian, who was beside me, and retaliated. Grace, you gold digger. Is it because my startup ran out of money that you hooked up with this rich playboy? The more he spoke, the more agitated he became, as if he were the betrayed victim. Now you see I'm rich and my company's going public, so you want to use these fabricated things to blackmail me? I'm telling you, absolutely no way. Just then, a middle-aged woman burst out from the crowd. It was Marcus's mother. She lunged at me like a shrew, flailing her arms and cursing, You ungrateful wretch. You ate our food, used our things, and now you want to ruin my son. I'll beat you to death, you little hussy. I instinctively stepped back, but Julian steadily shielded me behind him. Two black-suited bodyguards appeared from nowhere, standing like two mountains in front of me, effortlessly blocking Marcus's enraged mother. The scene completely devolved into chaos. Guests buzzed with discussion, and the tide of public opinion seemed to be turning against me. I told you, it takes two to tango. Look at the man next to her, he's obviously rich and powerful. Maybe she really cheated first. Just as Marcus thought he could turn the tables, Julian, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried an undeniable authority that instantly quelled the din of the entire hall. Marcus, is that right? Founder of Ascent? Marcus froze, then instinctively nodded. Julian curled his lips, a cold smile appearing. I am Julian. He merely stated his name, and the entire hall instantly gasped. Julian, the scion of the influential Eleanor family. The undisputed scion of the city's elite, a presence known by everyone in the business world. Marcus's legs began to tremble. His company's largest investor was Julian's arch-rival. The two companies had been locked in fierce competition for years. Julian unhurriedly adjusted his cuff, his gaze sweeping coldly over Marcus. I announced that, in light of Mr. Marcus's severe personal ethical issues and potential commercial fraud, our venture capital firm under the Eleanor will immediately trigger the venture capital agreement with a clawback clause. Assent is required to repay our full $50 million investment plus liquidated damages within 3 days. Otherwise, the company will be forced into bankruptcy liquidation. At these words, the entire hall fell into a dead silence. The color drained completely from Marcus's face. His legs buckled, and he collapsed onto the floor, pulling the rug out from under him. This was the real pulling the rug out from under him. Julian, with the absolute power of capital, crushed all of Marcus's sophistry and slander into dust. The wedding turned into a complete farce. Guests scattered like frightened birds, afraid to be associated with Marcus, this harbinger of ruin who was on the verge of bankruptcy. The group triggers a venture capital agreement with a clawback clause, Ascent stock plummets. Founder swindles girlfriend's money, messy private life. News flooded in from all directions. Ascent stock price plummeted, hitting its lower trading limit within minutes. Marcus was completely finished. He called everyone, pleading for help, but those who had once called him brother now avoided him like the plague. And his so-called true love, Celeste, immediately turned on him after learning the company was facing bankruptcy. Marcus, you must transfer the marital home into my name. That's what you promised me. Otherwise, we're breaking up right now. You liar. Didn't you say the company was going public? Now everything's ruined. Marcus's mother was no pushover either. When she discovered Celeste trying to secretly transfer assets, the two women fought tooth and nail over the property deed at home, ending up at the police station and becoming the laughingstock of the entire neighborhood. It was a messy public feud. A few days later, Marcus found my rental apartment. He looked haggard, his eyes bloodshot, a stark contrast to the man full of youthful ambition I remembered. With a thud, he knelt directly before me. Gracie, I was wrong, I was truly wrong. He clung to my leg, snot and tears streaming down his face. I was confused for a moment, blinded by that bitch Celeste. It's always been you I loved, Gracie. Please give me another chance, okay? Ask Julian to go easy on me just this once, I swear, I'll treat you doubly well from now on. Watching his pathetic display, my stomach churned. Once, I too thought he loved me. But now, I only felt disgust. I pulled my leg free from his grasp, looking down at him, my voice calm, without a ripple of emotion. Marcus, I'm not here today to listen to your repentance. I took a document from my bag and tossed it in front of him. This is a legal letter. I have retained a lawyer to formally sue you for commercial fraud. The $45,000 you swindled from me, and all the expenses I've covered for you over the years, I will reclaim every single penny. We'll see each other in court. Marcus looked up in disbelief, his eyes filled with despair and venomous hatred. Seeing him like that, any lingering complex emotions I had due to our past relationship completely dissipated. I turned, not looking at him again. From now on, we owed each other nothing. After settling things with Marcus, I formally joined Julian's company. Leveraging my work experience and capabilities accumulated over the past few years, I quickly established myself in my new role. I even independently completed a major project, earning the respect of colleagues who initially thought I had gotten the job through connections. Julian seemed very busy. Aside from occasionally running into each other at the company, we had almost no interaction outside of work. He lived in his penthouse apartment, and I lived in the spacious downtown apartment he compensated me with. We didn't interfere with each other, like two perfect roommates. Until a company banquet. Marcus's rival, Julian's archenemy, Mr. Arthur, deliberately approached me with a drink, looking for trouble. Oh, isn't this me? SS? I hear you're quite famous in the industry recently, driving your ex-boyfriend to bankruptcy and jail. Quite ruthless, wouldn't you say? A malicious grin hung on his greasy face, and everyone around watched me as if anticipating a show. I was about to speak when a figure blocked my path. It was Julian. He raised his glass, clinked it gently against mine, then looked at Mr. Arthur and said, smiling without warmth, Mr. Arthur, my wife's methods are hardly for you to comment on. Instead of concerning yourself with other people's personal affairs, you might want to check your company's stock. I hear it hasn't been doing so well lately. Mr. Arthur's face instantly turned crimson, and he walked away resentfully. Julian looked down at me, his brow slightly furrowed. Why aren't you drinking? I felt a little awkward. I'm allergic to alcohol. He said nothing more, simply took the champagne from my hand, drained it himself, and then placed a glass of warm water in my hand. After that night, I seem to have changed my opinion of him a little. Later, I worked overtime on a project for several days straight and ended up falling ill. In the middle of the night, burning with a high fever, I vaguely tried to find medicine, but I was so weak I couldn't even get out of bed. Just as I was about to pass out from the fever, the door suddenly opened. Julian rushed in, looking disheveled, still in the suit he hadn't had time to change out of. Without a word, he wrapped me in a blanket, scooped me into his arms, and rushed me to the hospital. After I had received the 4-drip and my fever had somewhat subsided, I returned home only to hear clanking sounds coming from the kitchen. I walked over and saw Julian, the undisputed scion of the city's elite, awkwardly tying my whimsical pink apron, looking bewilderedly at a pot of porridge. Seeing me, his ears flushed slightly, and he turned his face away somewhat awkwardly. "You're awake? Have some porridge." Some of the grains and that bowl of porridge were still undercooked, and the taste was indescribable. Yet, as I drank it, I felt a warmth spread from my stomach all the way to my heart. I began to realize that beneath Julian's cold exterior, there seemed to be a heart that wasn't so cold after all. Our relationship also began to take on a subtle complexity. Until his Grandma, whom I had once saved, suddenly announced she was coming to visit us. I braced myself to cooperate with his act, playing the role of a gentle and virtuous wife. Grandma took my hand, beaming. "Gracie, Grandma knew she hadn't misjudged you. R has always had a cold disposition since he was little. It's so fortunate to have you by his side." In that moment, feeling the warmth of Grandma's hand, I actually experienced a fleeting illusion of home. My life got back on track, but new information came from Marcus's side. After going bankrupt, he didn't give up. Instead, he blamed all his resentment on me. He somehow obtained evidence of Julian and my contract marriage and sent me an anonymous email, threatening to expose everything to the public, ruining both Julian and my reputations. "Grace, you bitch. You ruined everything for me. I'll make you taste what it's like to fall from grace." Reading the malicious words in the email, my hands and feet turned ice cold. What I feared wasn't for myself, but dragging Julian down with me. I took my phone, found Julian, my voice trembling. "I'm sorry. I've dragged you into this." Julian read the email, his face utterly devoid of expression. He simply looked at me and calmly asked, "Do you trust me?" I nodded blankly. "That's all that matters." He turned the tables on Marcus, deliberately letting him believe his threats had worked, thereby luring him into leaking the so-called evidence to the media. Suddenly, news of Eleanor's CEO's contract and high scam swept across the internet. The group's stock price took an unprecedented hit. Just when everyone thought Eleanor was doomed, Julian held a press conference. At the conference, Julian appeared composed in the face of reporters' aggressive questioning. In front of all the media, he calmly admitted it. "Yes, my marriage to Grace began with a contract." The entire hall erupted in gasps. However, he shifted his tone, his gaze falling upon me in the audience, with a seriousness and depth of affection I had never seen before. "The reason for this contract was an exceptional woman who was deceived for 7 years by a vile man, stripped of all her savings, and burdened with massive debt." He recounted Marcus's actions and my ordeal, word for word. The entire venue was silent. Everyone was shocked by the story. Finally, under the focus of all the cameras, Julian walked off the stage, coming towards me step by step. He took a velvet box from his pocket and, under everyone's gaze, knelt on one knee. He opened the box, revealing a dazzling diamond ring, many times more brilliant than Celeste's. "Grace, for the past year, I admit I used you and took advantage of you." His voice, carried by the microphone, reached everyone's ears with perfect clarity. "Now, will you give me a chance to turn this contract into a lifelong commitment?" At that moment, my tears could no longer be held back, they streamed out. I looked at the man kneeling before me, at the sincere and fervent light in his eyes, and nodded vigorously. Julian slid the ring onto my ring finger, stood up, and pulled me into a tight embrace. A thunderous applause erupted at the press conference. Public opinion online instantly underwent a dramatic reversal. Everyone sympathized with my ordeal and praised Julian's integrity and deep affection. And the contemptible man who tried to drag us into the abyss was utterly reduced to a mere buffoon. He was officially arrested by the police for blackmail and disclosure of trade secrets, and a long prison sentence awaited him. Celeste also faced legal penalties for her participation in the fraud, and everything she had swindled from me was fully recovered. All the dust had settled. I completely escaped the shadows of the past. With support, I founded my own studio and thrived in my professional field. 6 months later, Julian and I had a grand wedding on a sun-drenched lawn. There were no media, no irrelevant guests, only our closest family and friends. Dressed in a white wedding gown, I looked at the man beside me, his eyes gentle, his smile soft. He held my hand and whispered in my ear, "Mrs. Grace, here's to a lifetime together." I smiled, squeezing his hand back, a sense of peace and warmth filling my heart. The sun was perfect, the breeze gentle. I knew that this time I had finally found my own true happiness. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.